Hi everyone. Today we're talking to Leah Doellinger. She's an animal rights activist based in Australia, and she's the founder of Meet the Victims. Welcome, Leah. Meet the Victims. First of all, tell me, what kind of organization is that? Movement is that?
So Meet the Victims is direct action. It's just a group of concerned citizens getting together and disobeying the unjust laws together for the animals.
And how did you start it?
I started it because originally I was just doing open rescue, and I saw the impact that my open rescue footage was having on the public, and I just wanted more and more people to see. And then I was actually charged for a rescue that I did, and I just got really angry, and I thought, who are these people for charging me for coming into their place of violence and crime? And I thought, I'm just going to do an action now. So I just started planning an action against them.
And the movement got really big because there have been actions I'm based in Holland, there have been actions in Holland, in Spain, Canada. How did you get to, how did it happen?
So originally, a group of girls in Texas made contact with me, and they said they'd love to do Meet the Victims. I think it was after I did the second one, and they realized it was going to be an ongoing thing, and they really liked it because they had been following my open rescues, and so did Massin from Spain. And then, these girls did a Meet the Victims, and then Massin from Spain did one. And then, then Amy from Canada said that she wanted to do one, and people were just contacting me saying they'd like to do one. So I would just set them up with, how I do it, what we do, the designs for the shirts and everything. And now it just keeps spreading. It's going everywhere.
And how can you say, how does it actually go? The first one you did, how do you ask people on social media to join, and then how does it happen?
So originally I was asking people on social media. That was before the police really were aware of what I was doing. So the first one, I was just inviting people on Facebook, and the same with rescues. I used to just put everything online. And then the second one, I think I did the same thing. Just a Facebook group inviting people. Everyone knew that there was an action happening, but I still wouldn't give out the address. But now we're at a point where the police are so on my case, they know everything that I'm doing. I don't know how, but every time I've gone to do an action, they show up. So nowadays it's going to be very different. We're going to take things a lot more seriously with the security culture.
And so you're going to not post it on Facebook anymore, basically?
No, so we won't be using Facebook anymore to gather the troops. We will be doing it probably word of mouth, do it that way.
And you mentioned already you've been arrested. You've been arrested around 20 times, I think?
Yeah, so I've been charged 22 times, but I haven't been found guilty all of those times. So my original charges were trespassing or entering with intent twice and theft of stock twice. But my lawyer was able to just get me off the theft of stock, and I just got trespassed that time because my friends had been to court before me and they pled guilty. So because they pled guilty, I was able to get out of the theft. And then since then, I've just had so many charges. I've been charged for all of the Meet the Victims, so trespass for all of them except the one in Melbourne. The police didn't charge us, or the farmers didn't press charges. And then now I've just been charged with 5 entering with intents and 5 theft of stock. And that was in November when I was raided.
And how do you feel about that? Because when you enter these farms, you see animals being treated horribly, basically. Almost every picture I've seen so far, every country, it's not a beautiful place when you go inside. And then you're seen as the bad one.
Yeah. It's shocking. At the start, it was very shocking. That's why I started Meet the Victims, because I was like, this is bullshit. The public need to know the truth. And now, when the articles come out about me, they call me arrogant and say that the magistrate told me off and I stormed the piggery, and they've even lied and said I'm ripping piglets from their mothers and things like that. Now I just use that to my advantage because it is still sensationalism, and that's what we need. We need people to pay attention, whether it's the truth or not. it will work in my favor because it will get people's attention.
And can you tell me something about this picture? This is a pig farm, and on the back of your t-shirt it says one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws.
Yeah, so that was at Meet the Victims number 3. So I've been charged for that place 3 times. So the first time was my original charges, and then the second time was when I did the Meet the Victims there, number 1. And then we went back a third time. And that was, we were waiting for the media to arrive, and I was just kneeling down with the pigs, just having a moment with them, saying that I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw a lot of pictures of you where you're sitting down, hugging animals. How is it to see it and then having to leave them again?
This is something that's been really affecting me lately because I've actually turned completely numb. I used to go into these places and be heavily emotional. It would really fuck with me. I'd go home and I'd go into a very, very dark place of depression, and I didn't want to be alive. I wasn't coping in any way with my life at all. Now, I don't know, like, it's my subconscious is protecting me now, and I don't really feel anything. I'm very numb. It's just like a job, and it hurts. I want to feel, but it's locked away somewhere. Sometimes it'll come up, like just talking about it makes me emotional. When I talk about their stories, particular stories, I just break down. But nowadays, when I go into these places, it's a job. Get in, get the footage, save who I can, and get out.
But it's also, I think it's also necessary to do this, right? I talked to the founder of Eyes on Animals. It's an organization in Holland, and they go into farms and see how they can make it better because they believe it's not going to change. So how can we make it better for animals? But they also say that it's like they used to get emotional, but you can't, the animals are the ones that are suffering. So to be able to make change, you have to somewhere like lock it down, yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I used to break down in the farms, it actually had a really powerful impact because people cried because they saw my emotions, and it's as if like some humans needed to connect with the animals through a human. So that's how it worked well in that way. But you do have to keep yourself together. You can't sit there and blabber on the floor. You have to get up and you have to get out of there. So you need to be thinking rationally as well.
And have you seen change happening since you started this movement? Like farmers, in farmers also, a lot of activists I've seen, like every or like thing that's organized has at least 100 people joining. But have you seen change happening in farmers in Australia?
No, there's been no change with the farmers except that they started locking their sheds and putting up signs telling us that we'll be prosecuted if we trespass. But yeah, no, there's been no change. The only change is there's more vegan options and there's more vegans and more activists, which is amazing. The numbers are growing, but as for farms, they're still doing what they do. They're just trying to hide it better.
So do you have not even one experience where you have a farmer that like where you've been that says, okay, because of this, I'm gonna like do different, think different, or basically they just get angry?
Okay, so one example is, which was actually quite shocking, Meet the Victims 4, the last Meet the Victims that I did at a feedlot that actually also had a dairy on the farm. We were saying to him, like, how can you take babies from their mothers? Like, how can you do this? The mothers cry. And one of the farmers, actually, one of the workers, he got emotional. He put his sunglasses on and he had tears and he turned around. I've got footage of it. And my partner at the time was saying to him, like, bro, you don't have to do this. Like, you've got a good heart. I can tell you've got a good heart. And the guy was just, like, getting really choked up. And even the owner, like, there was something different about this owner. I could see in his eyes, there was just something different about him. It was really interesting. But then when the news articles came out, he talked so much crap about us. And I was, like, then, like, so confused because I saw a soul in his eyes and some kind of goodness. But then he made up lies about us. But then after the action, he's actually put up shading for the cows because we kept bringing that up. We're like, how do you feel out in this burning hot sun? Like, you're already getting sunburnt. How do you think they feel? They've got no shade. You're taking mothers away from their babies in the same, way around. And, now he's put up shading everywhere and he stopped his dairy on the farm.
Oh, that's great.
And actually, there's an article. He said if you get called a murderer enough times, you start to believe it. Those were his words. And I was like, okay, so he's actually accepting something.
Yeah, that's also what you want to see, right? Like actually farmers
Yeah.
need to change.
Yeah.
Where does your love for animals, because you did rescues, you said first just alone, where does your love come from, and where does the courage come from to do that?
When I was a kid, I think all kids have a connection with animals. We all have it. It's just, it's conditioned out of us because they're seen as food, other than pets, really. But my mum was always very honest with me about the world and what was going on. She didn't tell me anything about like animal cruelty, but she always had compassion for animals, and she actually just wanted backyard hens for eggs. So my dad went to the local battery farm just to get them cheap, and I was 8 years old and I went with him. And I remember sitting in his ute and looking as they opened up the shed doors, and I saw all of the chickens and I heard their screams, and I was just so shocked. And the lady just ripped them out by their legs and tied their feet up and threw them in the back of my dad's car. And I was just like a little kid, like, what the actual is going on in this world? And then we got them home and the chickens were frozen. They were like this. And they were looking up at the sky. They had never seen the sky before. And that's what I started to realize. And I started asking my mum questions, and she told me. She started telling me about battery farms. They haven't seen the sky. They didn't understand what grass was. They don't even take steps because they're not used to taking steps anymore. So then they became my best friends. I didn't have friends in primary school. I got bullied in school because I ended up going vegetarian from that experience. So I didn't eat animals in school, and then I got bullied for that a lot. So the only thing I looked forward to was coming home to my chickens, and I used to sing to them and make them like a little bakery. So that's they're our friends.
And how did you then, from that moment when you were a kid, like how old were you when you actually went into a farm and rescued the animal?
I wasn't until I was 26. Yeah, 26. It wasn't until then, unfortunately.
No, but you're doing it. But how did, when you were 26, like your first rescue, do you remember that one?
So the first rescue, trying to think. The first rescue was at a slaughterhouse. I was at a vigil with Animal Liberation Victoria, and they're badasses. So I knew that they'd be okay with me doing something illegal. And I noticed that some of the crates on the truck were a bit broken with the chickens, and I saw an opportunity, and I quickly ran up to Noah, one of the principals of ALV, and I said, if there's an opportunity, can I get a chicken off and I'll jump in my car and go? And he's like, yeah, do it. So I got my partner at the time, and I'm like, quick, come with me. And he ran down to the end of the truck with me, and we just started ripping the crate open, and we started just grabbing chickens out. We grabbed some chickens. A couple other activists joined in and grabbed chickens, and we just started bolting to my car, and the slaughterhouse workers saw, and they started chasing us. They're like, we've got your rego, and they were on the phone to the police. And then I just did the getaway with chickens in the car. So that was my first rescue. But going into a farm, after that point, I was asked by people who were with ALV who did rescues. They just said, would you and your partner be interested in coming out with us? And they took us out for the first time.
And do you get scared ever when you do these things?
I get scared every single time.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it's something I would be too scared to do that, I think. But
yeah, I don't get, like, some of my friends get scared that we're going to get shot. I don't really get scared that I'm going to get shot. I just get scared that the police are going to show up and I'm going to get charged again. I just get scared that we're going to get caught. I'm not going to make it out with the animals. So I don't really think about the shooting side of things because I'm not in America. But the police do say to me when I've had a chat with them, like, you got to be careful. Like, they have guns.
But have you, like, when you get arrested, do you actually get, like, your hands behind your back arrested, or just, like, signed up arrested?
It depends. So I've been arrested with handcuffs before when I was, like, on the ground, but usually I get away. I usually get away, and then it catches up to me, and then there's a knock at my door, and they show up, and they've just got some charges, and they just say, will you come down to the station with us? Sometimes they've just called me and said, we've got some charges for you, will you come down? And I'm like, okay.
And this picture, I wanted to show one more picture. This is a tattoo you have, because you just mentioned vigils. But is that the tattoo? Can you tell the story of the sheep?
Yeah, so that was like my second vigil that I had been to, and I hadn't gotten close to an animal on a slaughter truck before this moment, and there was just something about her. I just stood forward, and she was looking me straight in the eyes, like she was looking into my soul and I was looking into her soul, and she was very curious about me. It was like she had never seen or felt emotions from our species. Like our species to her is like the devil. Like we're like, we're monsters. So she was like, she actually turned her head and was like looking at me because I was crying. And she took a step forward, and then I just broke down, because it was like, in that moment, like she gave my species a little bit of trust, and she stood forward and she sniffed my nose, and it was very heartbreaking for me to leave her and watch that truck drive away.
And you tattooed her on your arm, and you have 2 more tattoos of rescues you remember.
Yeah, that's her there.
I am.
And then that's Seb.
That's a chicken.
A broiler chicken.
And did you rescue him, or you had to leave him behind?
No, I rescued him, but unfortunately his body was completely broken. So I found him on his back in the shed. So he was very top heavy. They actually prefer to raise boys, so male chickens, because they're heavier breast meat. So they fall on their back sometimes. They can't get back up and they just die, or they have sudden heart trauma and they just drop dead. So I found him on his back. I picked him up and I took him home. But he had no strength in his neck, so his neck kept falling down. He also had splayed legs, so he couldn't stand up. I thought I'll try and sling him, because I've done that before and I've gotten chickens to be able to walk again, but he couldn't even keep his neck up. His neck was falling down, so I had to lean his neck on something as well. And I just couldn't keep him in that body. Like, it breaks my heart. This one really gets to me. It breaks my heart because he was really happy to be free. So he was like looking up at the sky, and he was just talking, because he hadn't heard other birds before and seen the sky before, and he hadn't seen the fresh air and the grass before. So he was so curious, and he was really happy to be free, but his body was just so broken. Like I couldn't be with him every day. I had to fly back to Queensland, and no one could be there every moment of every day to feed him, and it wouldn't be fair to make him stay in such a broken body. So I took him to the vet, and they put a little gas mask on him, and as they were like putting him to sleep, he was still talking from under his little mask. He was like, chirp, 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 just talking, and he was looking at me. And this one affected me like probably the most, because he looked at me like a friend. I was his new friend, and he was mine, and I feel like I had to kill him. So that really affects me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like I'm trying like to like not go like will be like, but yeah, I can imagine that's horrible to have that experience, and that you want to like actually save him, but then you made a good choice by what you had to do. But that's, of course, that's heartbreaking.
That's like one of the hardest things, is when you do take someone out of there and you want them to have a good life, and you just so badly want them to be happy and get to enjoy this world that they had been rejected, like they weren't allowed to have, and then they either die because their bodies are so broken, or you have to make that decision to take their life, and that really hurts.
Yeah, but that's also how I got to know you. That was I followed that story of a piglet Elvis, and you like kept everyone updated on Instagram so good, and then in the end he didn't make it, and that was extremely heartbreaking for people also following his story from the beginning.
Yeah, thousands of people around the world were praying for Elvis, and I just thought, he's going to survive, he'll survive. But unfortunately, he was so sick as well. I don't think that he ever got his mother's colostrum, so he was just getting weaker and weaker every day.
And because you're quite famous on Instagram also, and you live in Australia, like Australia has so much veganism, and from what, like, I'm based in Holland, but from what we see, it looks like such a surfers, vegan, every animal should be happy, but there's still so much animal cruelty in Australia. Why do you think that is?
We're still a huge agricultural country, and the problem is we point the finger at other countries, like, you know, the Asian countries. We're always pointing the finger at everybody else, even Indonesia and things like that. But we just hide it better here. The same shit is happening here. We have just hidden it from the public a lot better.
And that's true what you're saying, though, because like I said, I live in Holland, and we're always pointing, like, look at these images in Asia, and we just had like wolves and mink farms, and they are all in small cages just in Holland. Like, people always think it's Asia where you see all these horrible stories, but most Western countries also have the same pain, but you say it really good. They hide it better.
Yeah, they're just hidden, so everybody just goes and gets their meat and their dairy and their eggs off the grocery store and think nothing of it.
But why do people still have, like, if so much is shown in Australia, like, why do people still want to eat meat, you think, in Australia? Like, in your friends, in your acquaintances, what do people usually say?
I think because it's been so hidden for so long, so the conditioning is so deep, and it's a lifelong conditioning. Yeah, so it's like even when they know the truth, they've got that disconnection. They don't even want to step through the door and see.
Yeah.
Because they've just got this complete wall up, this numb to it. And some people choose to take that step. And also it's guilt. Like, I was saying to a friend recently, even about the farmers, like, it's hard to feel guilt. Like, when I feel bad for doing something, like, the guilt eats me up. That hurts. If I was a farmer, like, I wouldn't want to face that guilt. And to, like, say that you're wrong and to change your ways means that you would feel guilty. And that guilt would be really heavy. And I think that's what happens for a lot of people who don't go vegan as well. They don't want to face it because they don't want to feel the guilt.
Yeah. And it's true, like, a lot of times people also say, like, that happens in Holland. A lot of people say, well, the meat I eat, like, the animals are treated well. That people just want to believe that the meat they eat, animals are treated well. It's biological meat, so it's better, it's fine. And they basically choose not to know what's really happening. But because you would meet the victims, show what's happening, I assume that people do become vegan because of those actions, that people do eat less meat because of those.
Yeah, so many people have gone vegan because Meet the Victims, and that's why I'm so passionate about continuing these actions, because, like, me personally, I have thousands of unread messages, and when I do, you know, go through them, I find so many messages. And even one chick, she's I think she's 15 now, she lives in the area of the last Meet the Victims, and she was on my page being such a troll. She was, like, saying the nastiest stuff and causing big fights, and no one knew she was this, like, 15-year-old girl. And then I tried to talk to her, and I saw on her profile that she's got horses, and I was like, you know, I used to be a horse rider, I love horses, and I built a bit of rapport with her in that way. And then, is that battery low? Why is this not charging? Yeah.
Oh, now the connection just went away. I'm kind of hoping you're still going to come back, but I think... Oh, yeah, you're back.
Is it working?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, now you're back, yeah. You were talking about the girl.
Seems frozen.
No, but I can hear you. Oh, you can't hear me now. Maybe if you put... Use earplugs.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's working, yeah.
It just cut out of the Wi-Fi, but it should still work. I'll just plug it back in. Yeah, so I built rapport with this young girl, and I just said to her, I'm like, next time, just consider the animals, because she went to an agricultural school as well. And I said, just look at their eyes. And then months later, I think it was like 4 months later, she messages me and she's like, I'm not sure if you remember me, but I'm the girl that was being a bitch on your page. Like, she told me she wanted to knock me out and all of this stuff. And she said, I was at school and they were putting one of those things through the cow's nose. And she said they hit the wrong spot and there was blood pissing out of this poor calf's nose. And she said she looked into this calf's eyes and she thought, how painful would it be? And he still stood there so well behaved, and he didn't try and hurt anybody. And she said it really hit her. And she said, I wouldn't want that to happen to my horses, and I wouldn't want that to happen to my dogs. And then we just talked, we kept in contact, and then now she's vegan. And her parents have now brought in vegan options. They own an IGA, so now they have vegan options in the IGA. They're not vegan, but they've brought vegan options out, and they are supporting her, which is really lovely.
Yeah, and it's also so good that like you went into conversation with her instead of getting angry at her, that you went to see her page and that she loves animals, and that you actually changed a young life like that, like being only 15.
Yeah, that's what I found. I used to be such an angry vegan. I would just be telling everyone, like swearing at them and going off at them. And now I know that there could just be a conversation that could change if you just show love. Like I had a guy recently, and he just kept posting bacon emojis on all of my posts and being nasty, and I just kept saying, I love you. I'm like, you have a good heart, I know you do. And then he jumped on my live one day, and I was like, Timmy, I'm like, how are you? I hope you're well. I'm like, those bloody bacon emojis. And I just kept being friendly towards him, and now we're actually really good friends, and we talk.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, I think like, yeah, with approaching people positive, that works always better with a lot of issues in the world.
Yeah.
And what do people watching this, if they want to join Meet the Victims, if they want to organize one in their country, because you're looking for people to organize Meet the Victims, what do they have to do?
They just need to email me, because unfortunately my social medias are just flooded in the inbox. So they just need to, so it's Leah at meet-the-victims.org. They just email me there, and then I will take it to a secure chat, and we can discuss it there, and I can send them like the manual of how to get set up and all of that stuff as well.
And what are your future plans?
I've got heaps of plans. I can't tell you everything now. There are going to be, there's stuff happening at the moment that we're doing like undercover. We're not posting anything. We're being very safe about what we're doing at the moment. We're gathering some footage, so stuff will be probably released this week or next week of what we've been up to. A couple other countries have joined in as well. And then once the restrictions are down, there will be another Meet the Victims in Australia. There's going to be one happening. There'll be another one in Israel, Canada, Germany, Ireland, Northern Ireland, England. I'm trying to find an organizer for England. Another one in Spain. So they're all confirmed, except England. I just need to find a new organizer.
Okay. Not Holland?
No, not yet. Apparently all the court cases are still going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something, I don't know if there's a difference in country in that, but that was something that shocked me, that they did it here in Holland at a pig farm, and they showed horrible footage, and the whole media was just filled about how horrible these people are, how really bad it was for the farmer. And people basically just forgot about the footage that they just saw.
Yeah,
like
that happens sometimes.
Does it happen in every country, or are there countries that look more at the footage than actually the people showing the footage?
No, the problem is that the media try and make it about the humans as well. They want to make it about the drama. They want to make us look crazy and things like that. So we just have to know how to work that. So when we do an action, I tell everybody, jump on the pages of the posts from the like Channel 7, Channel 9. I'm like, jump on those posts, post the photos, tell them to go to this link, post links, and just educate people on those pages as well. And then obviously if they share my name, I get a lot of people come over to my page. So I'll be prepared with footage ready to go in my story so people can see why we're doing this. We need them to come to us. So we need drama because we need the attention. If it was just showed the animals, unfortunately people scroll past. It's not interesting enough to hit the media. So we do need drama. We just need to redirect it to the animals.
Yeah. Understand that. One last question, because you started off like this, or you said it about young people that you were bullied because you were vegan or you chose not to eat meat. I think that still happens. Like people still sometimes have to justify, and especially maybe young people in school. What would you tell younger people that want to stop eating meat and that do get bullied for it?
I would say hang in there, be strong, know that you're doing the right thing from your soul, and those kids that are bullying you, they probably would do the exact same thing if they could, if they had the support from their families, if they hadn't been conditioned against your ways, and they just don't understand yet. So just educate them when you're able to. But if they're very nasty, just keep away. You've got to focus on who you can change and focus on yourself and your own self-love, and become an amazing activist.
Thanks. Thank you for your time. It was really interesting talking to you. And good luck with all the Meet the Victims. I'm sure we'll see a lot of those hopefully in every country in the world.
Yeah, soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.